Most of my work has been as an activist in environment first, and through environment, interest in the environment, I've got drawn into transportation issues because I see it as a very significant damager of the environment, at least in the urban setting. And we see it everywhere outside. It's a very depressing picture. People who come to our city after many years, like my friend here, she said she had come to Pune many years back, and when she came last year, it's become really bad. My memory of Bangalore, I mean, it's common for many cities in India that they have really gone from bad to worse or from good to bad. And a major reason for that is actually played by the vision or lack of vision for transportation. And transportation doesn't only affect the obvious things like pollution and congestion, but it's an infrastructure and accidents. About infrastructure I will clarify a little later. But there are other less noticed aspects that are affected or impacted by the transportation vision, which is heritage of a city. Because while working for the environment, we are also looking at Pune's heritage, both natural as well as the built. And we saw that transportation has its own impact on these. Transportation somehow is the at least present way of planning transportation in our cities is a very greedy kind of a animal, which requires more and more space for roads, for parking, and it has become a very dangerous animal because it doesn't care about the environment. And we are told that, look, what's more important is that people don't die on the road, that tree is coming in the middle. Actually, tree was where it was. The road has become bigger and is coming in the way of the tree. But we are always told that don't be emotional and let's really widen the road because that will solve the problem. But it never solves the problem. So, we find that we are in a situation where transportation based on these concepts of massive infrastructure are really damaging our cities in a very deep manner. And infrastructure is, Delhi. At one time when I used to come to Delhi as a child, I thought Delhi was fantastic. Broad roads and very nice. Of course, I meant the Lithians Delhi, not the other part. And when we got interested in the environment, we started understanding how all these very good-looking areas need to be subsidized by the slums or the poor who are on the margins. And we find that in the transportation, they are the ones who are not counted. I wouldn't even say they are the last, but they are not even considered. As I was coming from the airport yesterday, I saw so many people, right just outside the airport. There was some, people who were selling their Chinese-made aeroplanes, very beautiful-looking ladies in their garb, I think Rajasthani dress. They were sitting on the side of the road, and where is the space for them in a city? And who has done this? I think more than anybody else, more than anything else, is the transportation infrastructure, which says expand the road, make it broad enough for the cars to go, so they are not stuck in it. And in the process, people are, just thrown further on the edge of the road. The people who walk, people who cycle, and all these modes which were actually environment friendly are the ones which are being driven out by a very dangerous animal, which is the motor car. And I think the West has gone through it immediately after the Second World War. And we are, with great vigor, we are following the same pattern. And we also, this is something which we took a long time to understand, because we have been working very closely with the city planning, that is the development plan or the master plan as they call it. And our group was one of the first to go to court, to High Court, protesting against the massive changes made in the development plan, which were kind of amendments and de-reservations. So all the necessary things were being de-reserved and handed over to the builders, like playgrounds, schools, police chowkis. All of them were, de-reserved, and in that they are also de-reserved a lot of parking areas. In Pune, there is a crowded part, Lakshmi Road. It had around it many parking areas, and they also were de-reserved. And we went to court, and now, as we understand the issue and the counterintuitive things in transportation, we realize that it's a very good thing it happened, because parking is actually at the, it's actually the magnet which attracts personal vehicles. Because if you cut down parking or charge for parking, make it expensive, then the dangerous role played by the personal automobile is controlled to some extent. So it took a long time for us, so we are not surprised that people who plan transportation in the city, which is actually the municipal corporation, they don't understand this at all, and they are in fact every year increasing the minimum parking in in the bylaws. So if you have a building, they say minimum. Earlier they used to have minimum 4 cars and bicycles and whatever. Now as people's ownership of cars has gone up, now they are increasing that to 20 cars or 30 cars minimum. And what we see in cities which are woken up to the problem of the automobile, they are got things like maximums. That means you can't provide more than 20 spaces for a car. So I mean, we are still in the old style, and we are copying what the West has probably now abandoned. Now flyovers, elevated roads are all being knocked down. They are being demolished. And Delhi is the not just capital of India, but also capital of flyovers in India. And what Delhi does, other cities want to do. And Pune also, we have the same argument. Whenever we have any interaction with the local authorities, they look at Delhi, and we also need these flyovers. So I think that these things are very, very dangerous for cities, because they are permanent. It's not something which you can correct so easily, and it sticks with you. Once the road is brought into a beyond a certain extent, it not just looks ugly, but in the process will destroy all the trees. It will also destroy the community, because you can't cross, and the whole sense of people meeting is destroyed. So we have been working on this for a long time, and we are looking at cities which have started making corrective changes. And in Europe, I think more than America, but even New York, they have had a very sensible transportation commissioner under Bloomberg. I don't know anything else about Bloomberg, but she did a lot of good work for improving the spaces for walking, cycling, and 300 miles of cycle tracks were built in New York. So I can see this change taking place in Europe, because I have been visiting Düsseldorf, because I am a printer, and there's an international exhibition every 4 years. And I've been noticing cyclists, the numbers are going up. People are, they've got cycle tracks, priority for cycles, buses are better. And all this is important not only for mobility, but as I said, for the heritage of the city. In Pune, we have had problems of, and in many cities, when I talk about Pune, it's a common thing for many other cities, that they are building roads inside the river, not just river side, but in the river bed, because there is a dam and the river flow has become very narrow, channelized flow, and outside the channel now they are planning to have roads, and they are called submersible roads, because when it rains, all that is covered. So this is the level to which we have gone in destroying, and I don't want to say that whatever the Western cities have done is an ideal, because I know there are problems in that also. But what I think is, when we look at the lessons which transportation planners all over the world are talking about when they want to make things more sustainable. I know there was this objection to the word sustainable, but I will continue to use it for the time being. There are certain things which, as a percolated wisdom. They are now, what are they saying? They are saying that transportation is just a means to improve your living conditions in a city. That how good a city is will depend on what kind of transportation infrastructure you build. So people want small cities, compact cities, walkable cities, so that you don't have to use the car or two-wheeler for every trip which you make. Also, there should be mixed use, land use. The whole idea of having industrial area and commercial area and residential area is what makes traveling long distances essential, and then the car becomes the most convenient thing to use. But now we are talking about mixed use, mixed land use, sustainable sources and inputs, because the fossil fuels are going to run out. Urban spaces, urban agriculture, rooftop agriculture, all these are connected, though it's nothing to do directly with transportation, but we come to these things. The waste recycling. So in a city, if your city has to be made more livable, you need to question the way the transportation is planned, because are you going to have parks or parking space? That's the question, your choice. And normally the cities have favored going in for parking spaces rather than parks. And industrialized, some of these industrialized cities have now got certain key points which they say are required, and cities are being changed for that. And when we started looking at it, because we don't like to necessarily accept everything what the Western countries have done, because we don't want to copy and paste what they've done. We want to see what affects us, what is the best thing for us. And we have this understanding that, or we realize that most of our cities were like this. They were compact, they were mixed use. The person has a shop below and lives upstairs. They were walkable. I mean, Pune till very recently was cyclable. Now people like Ashish are, they are very daring and use the cycle still, but it's become very dangerous for cycling. And now we want to make these changes, which we can't make unless this whole vision is changed. So there's a big problem, because the vision and the fantasy of transportation is built around the capital-intensive, car-centered development. You see all these science fiction movies where you got these cars flying in the in the sky, and so it's something very eye-catching, and people are taken up by all that, and they want to know, are we going to have that sky train somewhere? Because just for the heck of it, just like the metro. I mean, metro is something which is a good example. I came by metro this morning, very efficient, great. Now Pune also wants it, Jaipur has got it, Cochin, every small city wants a metro, because it's a new toy, everybody wants it, whether the city needs it, whether they have any other transportation which is good enough, whether an ordinary bus or a rickshaw or a cycle rickshaw. In the absence of that, people want metro, and it's very costly, and if you're going to have a metro, then it's going to be at the cost of a lot of other things. So, we see all these conflicting situations, and people say, look, you people are for public transport, and why are you opposing the metro? And then we have to go into all this, that we don't even have a simple bus which is good, and probably Pune has got the most expensive bus system. And we have got roads which are being broadened, there are flyovers being built, roads are being turned into one-way streets. So, to look at a kind of a vision which is, Ashish mentioned that, look, you're not written much, your paper is very short, and you got plenty of space to, why don't you describe as ideal? It doesn't have to be workable also, but just, dream about it. So it's very difficult. But I made an effort, and thanks to him that I dug up some, looked through some of the data, and I came up on this fact that, because I have to give some examples now that he's, ordered it. And also it's good that you should give some positive aspects instead of saying everything is so bad. That Simla, there's a friend of ours who has started a very unique system of cycle rickshaw, phone-based cycle rickshaw. You can order a cycle in Fazilka, which is a border town in Punjab, which is a very small place. But this Navdeep Asisia, who has done this, is an IIT graduate in Delhi, from Delhi, and who has set up this system of cycle rickshawalas, who can call from by ordinary phone, not even mobile, because they found that most rickshawalas were resting near a chai shop.
It's like a rickshaw app.
Yeah, well, they don't even need an app. I mean, it's an ordinary phone. They would collect near a tea shop, chai wala shop, and so they made an arrangement with the chai wala that can people call you and you will get 1 rupee for every call which you communicate to the rickshaw man. And so that city now has got a it's called eco cabs, and it's a cycle rickshaw base. It's fantastic, and I think it's really it's in Fazilka in Punjab. Yeah, if you look up eco cabs on the internet, you'll get all the details. Right. So, and he not only has provided this service of, because I am very happy to see this is a typically Indian example of what can be, we can do it in Pune also actually. Pune people are very, they feel very hesitant about sitting in a cycle rickshaw where a poor man has got to slog. And rickshawalas always then say that this is a fantastic opportunity. When we come to cities, we'll be working as a labourer and we have to work from 8 to 8. Now here we are a rickshawala, we ride when we want, we sleep in the rickshaw when we want, tell the customer, sorry, it's not available right now. And everybody, it seems to work. Except when the police grab the rickshaw and they crush it. Because till recently rickshaws were illegal in many parts of even Delhi. They said you can't go beyond certain points. And some of our friends have been working for their rights. So this eco cabs, he not only had this facility of calling a rickshaw, and then people started calling the same rickshaw man because they got familiar with him, and it's very nice to know the person who is riding the rickshaw. And he also started making facilities for their health. So he gave them free health checkups, and it was, I think, subscription based. So it's not based on government subsidy. But a lot of doctors volunteer that if he's a member of this cycle rickshaw union, we'll treat them basic things free, except for more expensive operations and things. So they have got a very nicely worked out system, and when they are given some money either from insurance, it's handed over to the wife, not to the rickshawala, because that's also got them out of the habit of just taking the money and spending it. So I think there are a lot of examples, not a lot, I'm sorry, but there are some of these examples. In Simla, I looked up because Navdeep sent me this. Simla Road Users and Pedestrians Act of 2007, under which a 14-kilometer of road is reserved for pedestrians as a priority, and in the world is the world's longest road undertaken for pedestrianization. I didn't know this. So it's something nice again to see something is done as an initiative in our country. And on more than the fantasy, I think there are problems which I think we have to really also confront and face and find a way out. And the major problem here again is of aspirational desire for personal vehicles. In Pune we have been working a lot, pressurizing the city administration to increase the parking charges, reduce the parking areas, make certain roads no parking, so that people are, they think twice before they're taking their personal vehicle out. But we are asked by people, but where is the good public transport? I mean, if we are in London, we will certainly not use our own vehicle. So get that public transport to this level, and then we'll stop using our personal vehicles. But we find that never works, because one of the ways to improve public transport is to actually take away part of the road for public transport, like they had in Delhi BRT, which was beaten by the media more than anybody, not even car drivers, but the media. They just decided we don't want BRT, and we need so much road space. In fact, we need much more than what we have got, and the BRT is taking it up. So Pune also, in fact, Pune was the first city in India which had BRT, and it was a result of seminars which we had organized in 2004 in Pune, where there was a presentation of BRT, and the commissioner was very impressed, and we told him, if you're so impressed, make an MOU, don't just say it's great. So he did that, and we had a pilot corridor in Pune for BRT. But that was the end of his interest, because the commissioner went away, the next one wasn't interested. He said, why in the middle of the road, why not on the sides? And that has gone to dogs, because they built flyovers on top. They said because cars in the remaining part of the road have no space, so we must have a flyover for the cars. And especially an area called Magarpatta, which is land taken over from farmers as a cooperative. It's like a success story which is sold even in mobility conferences in Delhi every year. That Mr. Magar, who was one of the, probably he's done better than just grabbing the land himself. He had a cooperative, and all the owners of the land were given a priority. either somebody who wants to have a construction made or a contractor, they were given priority first in Magarpatta city, where a lot of rich people live. Now when they come to the BRT track, the argument of the corporation was that, can you imagine these Mercedes Benz and Audi cars getting stuck in traffic? So we have to have a flyover for them. So that really has killed the whole BRT corridor in Pune, which was, yeah, it was, right. So BRT, entire BRT route has been finished by the flyover. Several flyovers, including the one which is in the center where there is a central bus stop in Pune where the public transport buses come out, and we would have said that give a flyover for the buses to get out without getting stuck in traffic, but they have done it for the cars. Now I'll just end this because I don't really have so many examples to give, and it's not a very philosophical point I'm making. Like a lot of my friends who are very deeply academic, I am not. But there are. I would like to finish with a sign of hope, which is again something which Ashish has been doing in Pune. We have a lot of programs, signs of hope, what good things are happening. So, in the last 10-15 years, we have been advocating for sustainable transportation and shift the whole focus from the car-oriented development to people walking on the road, people cycling, or good public transportation. And just last month, I mean, sometimes these things happen. I think I was out of town for a day, and when I went back, my colleague told me, this has happened, that's happened, and nobody is answering our letters. But now just prepare yourself for some good news. I said, let me hear it. I was very keen. He said the last week the commissioner had a meeting. 2 days back, commissioner had a meeting, and commissioner is the one who decides the traffic policy for the city. And he had called a press conference. He told them, we are going to shift our entire focus from building big roads, from building flyovers and car-centered development to better pedestrian facilities, cycling and public transport. So the newspaper people were very happy, but when he started going into details saying that we are going to increase parking charges to 20 rupees an hour or something, today is almost free. We are going to allow no cars to be parked on some roads, no two-wheelers to be parked on some roads, and they'll be costing, for the first time they'll be charged. Right now there are only few roads where they are charged. Then we also, I am not going to spend any more money on any new flyovers. Now this is absolutely a revolutionary thing. I just couldn't believe it, because there have been, all the elected representatives want a flyover at the drop of a hat. They want a flyover to be built. And now we are told that no more money for flyovers, no more money for road widening, except the flyovers which are under construction. There are 3 or 4 which are, so they are going to be completed. But rest of it is going to be for pedestrian safety, pedestrian comfort, cycling tracks. So Pune now, we have been pushing it for 4 years, but now they said we are going to make a city-wide plan for cycling. So when we feel very frustrated, we also have these shocks of good good things which are going to happen. But of course, this is just an announcement. And this year's budget, in fact, he told in the press conference that I am not merely talking, but watch for the budget. And recently, the budget which came out also had this consistency about no more money for flyovers, but for cycle tracks, pedestrian,
and acquisition of buses.
Yeah, buses, of course, it's another story because it's actually the bus system is owned by the Pune Corporation and Pimpri-Chinchwad Corporation together. There are only 2 shareholders, but it's a private, under the Companies Act. So whenever they don't want to help the public bus service, they say you are a separate company, don't ask for money. But when we say who are the shareholders, there are only 2 corporations who are the shareholders. And the managing director is appointed by the state government. So actually it's entirely government. And we have been making some efforts, and when I say we, it is not only our group, but there are 7 or 8 groups working for transportation in Pune. And so with this kind of signs of hope, I'll like to end it because I also don't want to overshoot. Thank you.
Thank you so much. So we take questions. We have about.
I just wanted to ask whether the focus of your paper is just transportation within the city. Are you going to also look at other kinds of mobility that we use and its impacts? And also whether somewhere it kind of links to our usage of our time. transportation. The decisions that we make kind of linked to always how much time it takes. So in the future scenario, I mean, how does that get addressed? Are we going to change? I mean, we're so used to now instant gratification, especially the younger generation. So I think we've lost our ability to just stand and stare.
Yeah, I must admit that I found this to be an exercise which was really beyond me, because my work is mostly been in Pune, but of course I interact even with the urban development minister in Delhi. There is central ministry which has a national transport policy, and we interact with them quite a lot. So it's not just Pune based, but it's probably all India. Also, we are keeping a tab on what's happening all over the world. So many other cities like Enrique Peñalosa, who's the mayor of Bogota in Colombia. We had invited him in Pune in 2005, and I sent him a SMS saying that Pune became the first city in December 2006 to start the BRT. But of course now I am scared to talk to him, because we have messed up the BRT in such a bad way. But we are increasing it now. Again, the plan is to BRT is bus rapid transit. It's got a special lane. So about the time to stand and stare, I mean, we in fact waste a lot of time traveling these days, because the most convenient way to travel, which is a public transport, is very poor. But if it gets better, and I think there are a lot of youngsters who we interact with, because we are all the time advocating this, they seem to some of them just use the bus, even now, in spite of it being a great problem, because a lot of buses break down. In Pune there are about 1,000 buses, in all about 1,500 buses, but 500 are under repairs, and out of the ones which come on the road, about 90 to 100 break down every day. So it's a massive number. If you happen to be in that bus, you are going to make damn well sure that you are not going to travel by that bus next time, if you can afford it. If you can't, then you just, like my mate, she says, well, what do? I can't. I came late because the bus broke down and the next bus didn't come. So if there is a better public transport, there is a better cycling facility. I think that, I don't know whether stop and stare, but you will be able to enjoy the city much more. There are the core areas of the city which can be totally made into pedestrian. And in fact, it was built to be a walkable city, and now they are trying to make all roads big. So even the core city of Pune, there were plans of road widening, which we are opposing very strongly. And we hope with this change of heart in the one part of the Pune corporation.
To what you said is that we're talking about transport of just humans, and when we are actually talking about transport, we are talking about goods and services,
yes.
Transport, the railroad, and what kind of railroad traffic is available. And also that currently a lot of, apart from railroad being a major kind of transportation for a lot of things across states and across borders and all that, trucks, which are really, I don't know, at one level they seem to be very good, but at another level they are a menace. And within the city roads, trucks are not even allowed in Pune. So that's one. The other is also, we're talking again very urban centric, in the presumption that the future is going to be urbanized. But rural areas and their transport system, which has a lot of impacts. Right from simple things like girls' schooling, stopping after the 7th because there's no transport available from the village, to there are a whole lot of issues. So I feel the paper on transport needs to be much more comprehensively covering all the stakeholders when it comes to transport.
For the transportation of non-people, there's goods and trucks. I think rail is a much better option than trucks for carrying intercity. But within the city, the way to carry goods, I think, has not come in this. So I'll try and add some of these things. And village, of course, I have not written much about, because there are, when we say we don't want roads, actually there are people who are denied mobility, and they need roads, they need some access. So I think we try to use this word of access rather than mobility, that they have no means of moving to wherever they need to go. But there will be different pictures, because within a village on the periphery, maybe cycling may be a better way to reach the place, because we are talking again in a wider canvas of climate change also, and the impact transportation choices have on the.
Another major area, for example, if you go to Pune, Hinjawdi area. Now Hinjawdi is built on a whole lot of villages, and it's an infotech town. But then the fringe area, you have people with disabilities, you have people with, and you just cannot commute. There is the issue of safety of women, there is the issue of transport of people with disabilities who cannot walk or cycle. There are all these issues, so I think the whole transport.
Yeah, we are aware of it. In fact, we have got a case in the High Court for disability, people affected by disability, because facilities are not provided for even the road crossing. When you have got underpass, they are not provided for wheelchair.
No.
And in fact, there are steps. How can a wheelchair go along those steps? But I think, the focus of this will get completely watered down, I feel. You're right, and we have not been able to address those issues, though we are aware of them and we are tackling them. But it's not in this paper. Maybe I'll have a chat with Ashish and see how I can manage. Yeah.
Realistic opportunity for animal-based transportation. It could be tied into the biomass. It would be biomass fueled, and it would help our biodiversity, supporting our native cattle breeds or the camel. Did you ever look into that, or is it totally retro? I'd just like to know what the feeling is on this.
Yes.
Not just PETA. There are railgadis being used even now. Bullock carts are used. And in fact, bullock carts were used even, I remember Bombay Pune journeys used to come by car, and there are a lot of bullock carts. At night we couldn't even see them properly. So it is an issue, but I don't know whether in the city, whether you'll have these horse tracks, because in New York has had the history of horse carts, and there are all kinds of other problems, including the dung of the yes. So no, I know, but so you'll have to have some contraption to correct that.
You touched on it briefly, this importance of the personal vehicle. How do we tackle that? Because, see, there is a long civilizational almost, factor there. Each one of our gods has a personal vahan. Whether it's a mouse or a... I'm really struggling with that. See, now, of course, in the West, there is a shift happening, because you said that about the young people not wanting to be driving.
Yeah.
They want free time, so they don't want to be in a vehicle that they have to steer, because the driverless car may change that.
A lot of people are not buying cars yet, so.
Yeah. No, BMW is already doing a survey, because they have got data to show that in 10 years' time they'll have a hard time selling cars. But in India, I still see that, it's such a big aspiration, even if it's a motorcycle. So, any ideas on how we both don't disrespect that aspiration? Because there is this very real issue of that person saying, "Acha, now your ancestors have had cars for 3 generations. Abhi meri bari aayi to ye wrong aspiration ho gaya." How do we deal with that?
Yeah, we face that every day, and people talk like that. And I think the way I see it is that maybe right now is not the time to say don't have a personal vehicle, but use of it, because we are differentiating between owning and using right now. Because I have 2 cars, and I never use my car to go to work, because it's a nuisance to go there, find a parking place. If a lot of people solve that by having a driver and a mobile, so they ask the driver to drop him, and then they call him on the mobile wherever he is, hanging around, he can come and pick you up. But I think right now this is a better strategy to adopt also, because people have aspirations, and I don't know how to answer that. If somebody is just about to have bought a car, and now we are saying the policy says that you can't buy it, so we don't want to be the cause for that, because these aspirations are very deep also. People who have come to cities and they have probably struggled with the public transport. Answer to that would be to have public transport which is so attractive that people say, okay, we have got our own vehicle, but we don't use it much. Today what's happening is that even those who are using public transport, we are trying to even stop the, people who are getting out of that and getting their personal vehicle. A lot of people are, if they can afford, the moment they can afford, they are stopping using the public transport. So I think we are not aiming for the idea right now. We are trying to see if it is possible to keep the public transport riders from running away from it, and offering them better quality offers, not because Bombay, they say, in fact Bombay has got much higher public transport ridership than London and Paris. It figures 82% of people in Bombay used to use public transport because of the local, but it's carrying something like 6 or 7 or 10 times the capacity of each coach. So that's not something one could advocate.
I have a driver who also works in the office. So both he and I get into the car, we drive to the bus stop, he parks the car, he has a bus pass. I don't have a pass, but we both get on the bus and we go to office. He works in the office and then we come back. I drop him at the bus stop and then I go.
That is one of the things advocated, that you have park and ride. That means you go up to the public transport station, park your car there, and make the longer. Yeah, many cities have that, and I think these are transitional things which one will have to do, because your railway station is not going to be outside your house, and you don't want it to be near a house, outside your door either. So this last mile connectivity is something which is being talked about a lot, and I think there are cycle rickshaw or even a cycle with safe cycle parking facilities for younger people, and those who are older obviously can't cycle, and those who are ill can't cycle. But I think these are different directions in which the use of the personal vehicle can be reduced. So I think what you are doing is, best under the circumstances, and unless public transport improves even better, and you'll need a driver, so you are at least not carrying the whole car to the place of work. And the way to do it is to make it even more inconvenient. So if no, I'm not for her, but generally, if you are able to drive your car up to your office, it's comfortable, you can put on the music, his air conditioning is very nice, So it's very difficult to get a man off his car. But the charges for parking, no parking areas, and things like that. So, or maybe a route where the buses are overtaking you much faster, and you are stuck in the traffic, but the government, continues to hold it, unlike Delhi. Delhi just buckled, and Aam Aadmi has even removed the BRT where it was. Yeah.
I think that this transportation issue, if we look towards an alternative transportation in general, then we have to change the scope of this.
Yes.
Secondly, there is no, you can give more attention towards the difference between staying arrangements of people and employment arrangements. So, for example, if you take example of Pune, people from Hadapsar are coming for their employment to, say, Karve Road. And from Karve Road they are going to, say, somewhere around. So this kind of a thing, whether it could be changed, I'm sure that it could be changed. Previously, the textile mills in Mumbai, they had their employees staying around their jobs. There are still no jobs there. Yeah. So that kind of a thing also could be thought about the residential pattern related to the employment pattern. So that brings in a question of having residential places which are not really bought or owned places in cities. Maybe if you want to buy and own places, you might go to some remote areas or somewhere. This is one thing which would reduce thing.
The need to travel.
Yeah. There is a very big aspect which should be went into in details. Secondly, if you want to take it towards the generality of it, and in general transportation, I will tell you that in backwaters of Koyna, 79 kilometers, there are 50 villages. Only because the ring road was built in 1959 and it is not at all transportable for all those years up to now. They cannot have their farm produce coming out of their villages to our market. So only because of this kind of a reason, they are forced to get migrated to cities like Mumbai and work for 5,000 rupees per month or so. So there is a water, the full of natural resources. On the other hand, on the hillsides, and they have got old methods of agriculture. But still, this is the situation.
They can't carry their produce.
Yeah.
So, you are
So there are many examples, many examples of like this is extreme example. So in that sense, transportation, if you the issue, if you widen it, that can be. I think that would be better, even if you have got no personal experience. You can very well extend to that.
The first part, of course, is there. I need to elaborate it a bit because when I said compact, walkable, it means the same. That your work areas and your living areas are near.
I want to interject on that point of aspiration and how it's sort of out of bounds. I think the aspiration, the model of aspiration itself is a manufactured model. It's a narrative which is built upon and then sold and then people are drawn to it. And so, for instance, Mumbai, for instance, before the real liberalization sort of captured us, Mumbai was the most capitalistic city, the most free market friendly city, and yet, as you said, it had 82% public transport usage. So, and Delhi, which had many opportunities to build its public transport and a better model of that, did forego that opportunity till a certain base in terms of selling of cars and that capturing that market was achieved, and it was only after that that some ideas which had been sort of floating around about the metro, etc., then started getting put into practice. So I think that whole process was a manufactured process, and I think even now when smaller cities are sort of cribbing about their aspirations and people are eager about their own aspirations, I think we have to also accept the fact that that is a manufactured consensus which is being built.
Yeah, sure. Place like, wait a second, Nashik, there's a great effort now being made to get an international airport at Nashik. So it's all done by the builder lobby and they want to get people hooked on this idea of international airport at Nashik. So it will mean a lot of things. So you're right, I mean of course we are aware of this and there are some posters we have got about advertisement for a BMW car which is on top of a tall building. And then we make a comment, don't look below, because below all the cars are stuck in a traffic jam and there a nice car with the open road is shown. So you're right, it's all aspiration is built by the advertisement, but even the clothes and shoes and things now they are trying to, tell you unless you have that perfume, that girl won't look at you.
शहरों में तो इस तरह की बातें हो रही है, लेकिन पहाड़ में या देहात में कहीं भी चले जाएं, एक बार क्या हुआ मैं बता रहा हूँ आपको, एक कमांडर होता है ना, कमांडर जो 12-13 सीटर कमांडर ही होते हैं, हमारे कमांडर हैं, तो एक कच्ची सड़क से एक कमांडर जा रहा था और इतना भरा था, उस पर भी भरा था, बीच में भी भरा था, साइड से भी लगते थे, बीच में आरटीओ मिल गया, तो उसने नीचे उतारा तो उसने गिनती करी तो 12-13 सीटर पे 35 सवारी 35। उसने कहा यार चलो मैं तेरे चालान नहीं करता हूँ, तो बिठा दे इनको, दोबारा बिठा के दिखा दे। उसने कहा मैंने तो बिठाया नहीं, मैंने तो बिठाया नहीं, अपने आप बैठिए लोग, अब आप बिठा दो चलो। तो आप ये देखिए, आपको यकीन नहीं होगा जब गियर बदलता है, ड्राइवर गियर बदलता है, क्योंकि सड़क जब ऐसे ऊंचाई पर चढ़ना होता है तो गियर बदलता है, तो पीछे आता है तो पीछे डर होता है, तो पीछे की सवारियां उतर के ज्यादा खिसक जाएगी। तो ट्रांसपोर्ट का ऐसा भी हाल है, गाँव की सड़क, गाँव के लोग
अमृतसर में भी है, अमृतसर में एक ऑटो रिक्शा में 14 लोग देखते हैं।
I wanted to ask, what about pollution? You can have as many bicycle lanes as possible, but if our cities are as polluted as they are, it's not, it's not healthy to cycle. So that's one issue. How do we? So the thing is, you have to look at it in an integrated manner. You cannot just look at transport. I mean, the issue of safety for women particularly was raised also. The second is, what do you think about CNG? But the CNG in Delhi for a long time was a success because it doesn't solve the density issue or the issue of, traffic. And also this odd even thing, I think is important. And just a short comment that I don't know if this is going to happen in our cities in India, but cycle tracks are not necessarily good news in the western cities, because if you see a cycle track in a neighborhood, that means that neighborhood is going to be gentrified. That will be followed by boutiques, art galleries, cafes, and a lot of people will continue to get displaced. I think people can tell you how it is in DC. I don't know if that's going to come here, but I think we have to be very careful about the kind of clean models that we sell and how that's done. But since we're thinking about the future, I thought I'd mention.
Actually, it's related to what Milind just said. I find it terribly ironical that cars are still referred to as private transport. Cars actually, when you analyze them in terms of externalities, they are as public or if not more public per passenger kilometer, especially in terms of pollution output, than buses and so on. So they occupy space on the road, they occupy parking space. If you do the numbers in Delhi, for instance, it's several orders of magnitude more than, say, what rickshaws occupy, and rickshaws are banned from so many areas, and the entire city is designed for cars. So I think one needs to change the discourse. If one is talking of alternatives in a serious way, then the alternative imagination about transport has to refer to cars, not cycles, not pedestrian walking, so many other things, but cars certainly is not acceptable as private transport. It's one of the most inefficient ways to carry one person from a place to a place. The related issue is that it's actually the pollution thing. When you do what Rajni was saying, socially responsible investing, and if they recognize that investing in areas which have large externalities is socially irresponsible, then certainly cars should be disallowed from socially responsible investment. One should argue for that.
Just one comment, I think in our comments to you, I think I flagged that issue that may come up. I think in the urban transportation, I don't know, how do you look at the waterways and water transportation? Well, I think historically, all of the cities did have waterways and this, but today they're on trains. Because I think saying that the larger context in Delhi contribute, these rivers are being now made into navigational and a lot of regenerative. So there are both the sides of things to be done. Because otherwise, traditionally we hold that waterways are much more economical and much more things, but we never decided. So probably you could bring in that dimension and make equity, whether it has a future in terms of transportation.
About pollution and cycling, I think when we talk about making facilities for cycling, it is not by itself an independent demand. Obviously the road with so many cars and two-wheelers plus a cycle is not what we are saying. We need to take away the road space from the cars and two-wheelers and provide cycle tracks. And as far as the pollution is concerned, there are a lot of studies which show that even in air-conditioned cars, there is a lot of pollution which comes inside the car because air circulates that way. And cycling, okay, you're breathing hard and maybe you're taking a little more pollution, but we don't imagine advocating more cycle tracks and more cyclists cycling in that polluted area, but also side by side have a policy which reduces the number of cars and two-wheelers on the road. As for CNG, it was obvious that when they brought in CNG, there was because before CNG I remember coming to Delhi and every breath you could smell the stink of petrol. And after CNG, suddenly there was a feeling that it's cleaner. But the factor which doesn't affect bringing in CNG is the private cars were growing. And they are growing in Delhi at the rate of 1,000 new vehicles are added, new vehicles are registered every day in Delhi. 1,000. Pune the figure is 600. 600 vehicles every day are registered in the RTO office in Pune. There are 80% of them are two-wheelers, but even that, and the growth of cars is that curve is faster than two-wheelers. So although there are more two-wheelers, the rate at which people are switching to cars is faster.
No, but you can
So-
have cars that have CNG also. No?
Well, not so many, and I think CNG by itself, there is a limit
That was
to
the question.
how much CNG is going to, there is some PM2 and things, it's better. But overall, there are no cars which are non-polluting cars. There are all of them, all the auto emissions, other sulfur and things are there. So I think CNG is better than diesel, because diesel cars are also allowed. So in fact, people like diesel cars. I think recently there's been some threat of banning the diesel cars. So I think we have not been concentrating on fuel alone, because CNG, Center for Science and Environment has been doing it for 10-15 years. And we have been arguing with them all the time that you're only attacking the fuel and not the number of vehicles on the road. And now they are, of course, also talking about the number of vehicles. So I think electric vehicles and CNG, that's not going to reduce congestion, because all the autos, if they are converted to electric, they'll still clog the road. And so I think we need to really see, like Asim mentioned, that you're taking so much space and there's only one person traveling. And there's a professor in Austria who has been working on transportation, and he does crazy things like carries a frame and walks on the road with his volunteers, just to show how much the space car is taking up, and then you can't stop me from doing it, because I'm taking only so much space. And that has reached a lot of people. And odd and even also, I think odd and even is, I fully support it only for one reason, that it is for the first time that the focus has come on the cars. And it's not, people say ban the trucks, ban the buses, make buses CNG, but nobody talks against the cars. But here for the first time, the personal auto vehicle, the car, which takes up just one occupant, because driver is just driving you, but one occupant, has come into focus. So we are supportive of that, and in Pune we have used it to threaten these people that look, unless you improve public transport, you are going to have an odd and even in Pune, and most of the people who we are appealing to, the elected corporators, they've got all BMWs and Mercedes now, they're not going in the buses. Most of the corporate elected representatives have these fancy cars. So they really are worried that if it comes to Pune, and people have been talking, some parties, the Aam Aadmi party in Pune, which is almost non-existent, and which is not in favor of Kejriwal, they have made a threat that, they have demanded that there should be odd and even in Pune. So I think that is being used just as a threat, that if you don't improve public transport, you have to have odd and even. Then there was, private cars in private areas. In fact, there are advertisements by builders who build these gated communities. You know what they show? They show people cycling, smiling and cycling there, and they say that these are all cyclable, walkable, no threat of the car. Buy these, 2 crore flat here, and you will have this fantastic atmosphere in walkable schools. So they are talking the same language, and in fact in our advocacy we are showing these advertisements of the builders, saying that if the builders want it here, why don't we try and aim for the city which is more walkable and away from the threat of cars. So that point is noted, and I think it's being already used by a lot of people to show a nice area in the city, but not the city, because city they are supporting flyovers, everybody supports. And waterways, of course, Kochi and places like that, not just have, they can improve it, and they are still getting a metro. So so it's a misplaced priority, I think. But waterways in Pune, the river in its present condition is difficult for us to see anything. No, in the water, because it's possible, but it's still possible. I think that is one of the things. There is some people who have done some work on this, that a dam under the Irrigation Act or whatever, Yamuna has an order from Supreme Court that there has to be a minimum water release from the dam. Even if you have a dam, you can't just store it. You have to have a release. And in Pune, we have a very good chance, because I'm talking only about Pune, but I'm sure this applies to many other cities. There is a canal which flows on the outside the river, which carries water downstream to downstream villages, because the water which passes through our city is so bad that they can't use it. So they've got this special canal which is meant for the villages downstream. So what some of us have been saying is that the dam should release more water, so that we could probably even have water transport. And if not water transport, first at least a river which flows instead of the gutter. And we will take it on ourselves to clean the water, then put it back into that canal, so the clean water goes to the other villages. So this, we are aware, I have not missed the point about water transport, and probably I could add a few things in it. But today in Pune at least, but other cities I'm sure is similar situation. Rivers are going really bad, but water transport should be considered even for Mumbai. I mean, there was that coastal, Okay, I hope I finished the points.
It's been really rich
Thank you.
sessions. Both the papers have been wonderful.
Yes, yes.
Thanks.
Nice
for-
gathering.
So 9:30.